Hi, my name is Dylan Flynn, and I want to be a physical education teacher because I've always had a great passion for fitness since I was young. I've always loved playing sports. And when I was in middle school and high school, I loved physical education class, and I loved helping people achieve their fitness goals. So when I was in middle and high school, and even back in elementary school, physical education was a great way for me to get out of the typical classroom environment and to connect with my fellow classmates, my fellow friends, and to really enjoy the sports that I love. For example, basketball, even volleyball, wiffle ball. All these sports are really fun and to help break up the typical classroom environment. Because oftentimes we hear students in English and math class, oh, I hate this class, oh, so many exams. And they often get very bored and they don't have a real break from it. They're often sitting in a desk for the whole class period with a pen and paper, just focusing on content work, which is necessary, but oftentimes gets monotonous and students don't really get to enjoy themselves. But with physical education, that's not the case. Physical education, students get the chance to express themselves, to hang out with their classmates, and to make connections with their other friends. It's a great place to do that. And I'll always ensure a safe and inclusive classroom environment by making sure there's a diverse number of sports played, making sure that every student is included in every activity by always providing modifications, and making sure that every student feels welcome in my gymnasium. And I'll motivate students who aren't particularly invested in physical education by explaining to them the health benefits of physical education. For example, a student who feels, oh, what is physical education even necessary for? What do I even need to be in a gymnasium for? And I'll explain to them physical education is a great way to introduce introductory fitness level for your overall life. Because think about it, there's so many adults in the USA and all over the world who are physically inactive because they never took physical education seriously. They just spend all their days on the computer and the phone. And now as they're adults, they're not the most healthiest people. And this could be prevented at a very young age in physical education class. I explain to students that physical education allows you to improve your cardiovascular endurance, improves muscular strength, the social benefits of it, connecting with your classmates, finding a sport that you love, and it's a great overall way to break up your day. Now, if there's a disagreement between two students in my physical education classroom, the way I would solve it is by having them talk it out. Oftentimes, students don't feel like they're being heard or they're not being able to express themselves. And a good way to solve a problem is to hear both sides of the story and let students talk it out. This way, they're finding a solution to their problem and they can come to an agreement. And this is a very effective way to solve a disagreement. And I would accommodate students with disabilities in PE by providing a modification to every lesson. For example, if we're doing a basketball unit, and I have a student in a wheelchair in my class, he's not able to shoot on a regular rim, I will set up a mini hoop that all students can participate in. This way all students are able to participate in the activity, and my student in the wheelchair is able to participate as well, so he can now play on the mini hoop. And if we're doing a volleyball unit, and some students have trouble hitting the regular volleyball, a good modification would be to provide a beach ball. As a beach ball is easier to see, easier to hit, and it's just overall easier to play with. And this will ensure that students of all different levels of playing volleyball are able to participate in the activity. And when it comes to a parent who believes that physical education is not important, because this happens more common than not, I'll explain to them that physical education is a great way for their child to express themselves and to potentially find a good extracurricular activity that they could carry outside the classroom. For example, many parents complain that their children are not getting enough physical activity, they're always on their phone, Xbox, PlayStation, computer, and never want to do any sort of physical activity with them. And this is very heartbreaking to see, especially as a personal trainer. So a good way to help this is by letting your child find a sport that they really like in physical education. This could potentially be a really good extracurricular activity for them. And after school ends, they could play the extracurricular activity as a club in our school. This is why often clubs are formed in elementary, middle school, and even high school based on student hobbies. Physical education is an excellent way to ensure this. Now, I think I would be a good physical education teacher, actually a great physical education teacher in this school, is I would always make sure there's a safe and inclusive environment. I would always make sure each student is welcome. I'll always provide modifications to each lesson and make sure every student is participate in every activity. And I'll always make sure the students are wearing the proper sneakers, making sure there's nothing obstructing their view like glasses, and I'll always make sure that each student is safe in my gymnasium. And this way we'll have a safe and effective physical education class where students learn fundamental fitness skills for the rest of their lives. And I think this is why I'll be the perfect candidate for this school. My name is Dylan Flynn, and thank you for having me today.